All right, hi, we are going live. Welcome everyone tuning in. I'm Peter Bowden, and I am here today with the Reverend Dr. Debra Haffner. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be with you, Peter.
So you are our first ever guest in the my ongoing live sessions. We have people tuning in. I've been doing over the last 6 weeks experimenting with doing a weekly Facebook live session, and as people have been getting involved, including you joining the group where I've been doing that, there have been so many great stories and lessons from our congregations that I just wanted to start bringing in more leaders and experiences, stories, so we can all learn together. So.
Great.
Thank you to people joining in. Please, in a comment, just share where you're tuning in from, whether it's now or later on when you're checking out the recording. So my guest is the Reverend Dr. Debra Haffner, minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church in Reston, Virginia. Now, in this conversation, we're going to talk about the Reston congregation's membership growth. 101 new members in 2 years, which is phenomenal. But for those of you who don't know Reverend Debra, I just wanted to give you a little bit of her background. As in addition to being interested in your congregation's story, I've been following your work for years and just deeply appreciate all that you've done and do. So before coming to Reston, you were a community minister at the Unitarian Church in Westport, Connecticut, president and CEO of the Religious Institute, a national multi-faith organization, which you co-founded. Now, going further back, worked as a nonprofit executive in the fields of sexuality education, sexual health, and justice. And I know you did consulting work with Our Whole Lives program and have been very involved in our Unitarian Universalist sexuality education work and advocacy. And I don't know what I didn't know is you also have many books that you've written. Is it 11? No, it's 7 books in 11 languages. From one, including From Diapers to Dating, which is available in 11 languages, and a book of pastoral reflections, Meditations on the Good News. And after this is over, I'll put more of your bio and some links into the description wherever this recording is available so people can check it out. And lastly, for me, you have become one of my favorite ministers, Unitarian Universalist ministers, rocking Twitter. And we're not going to go into Twitter in this session, but I just appreciate your presence there. In turn,
I appreciate your presence and what you do for us. So thank you for your work.
Right. So before we dive into your congregation's story and membership growth, is there anything about your background that you want to add or clarify?
Oh, I think that's plenty.
That's plenty. Oh, I'm like, we could have like the shameless Debra's awesome. So your congregation has had 101 new members.
Actually, 102 as of last week.
102 over the past 2 years. So, and that's a congregation of how many today?
So we're at 235 members. When I took over, there were 170, and there had been no net growth since the year 2000. So every year they recruited 15 new people, and every year 15 people left. And so in this past 2 years, what we've learned is how a lot about how to encourage membership, how to turn visitors into members. 40% of our current membership were not with us 2 years ago. So it's been pretty phenomenal to see a congregation really take root and flourish.
So I know that typically congregational growth doesn't just happen. There's intention, there's vision, there is strategy and specific practices. So can you take us back, 2 years, and what started to happen? What was that process like?
So when I was actually hired, and there was an explicit conversation in the search packet that they did want to grow, and so I was given that as a mandate. I think the most important thing we have to do is really look at, are we living our mission in the world? And our mission, like so many other congregations, is really we want to nurture people's spirituality and we want to help heal the world. And so I took a very hard look at both of those as the new minister. in many ways, clearly Sunday morning has to be our mainstay. And I promised this congregation that they would come to love worship, and they had not, for a variety of reasons. And so I have a fantastic music director. We work very hard on a coordinated liturgy, and so we regularly produce really good Sunday morning. And I think that makes a difference. That gets people in the door. It gets people talking about, there's a new minister. I really like coming to my church. You should come to my church too. The other piece of the mission, right, is to what we do in the world, how we bring our values, how we help heal the world, how we bring social justice. And so since I've been in Reston, I've been very intentional about becoming known in the community, participating in community events, creating a presence for us in the community, so that even when the election happened in 2016, I had standing room only, as I'm sure most of our congregations did, but we were intentional about keeping people, getting them involved, showing them what we had to offer them. I also, one of the things and this may be true in many congregations, is what I saw was an amazing amount of barriers for people to become members. And so,
like what? What kind of barriers?
Rid of them.
Can I just say, so you talked about a mandate for growth. So there's clear intention to grow.
Right.
Phenomenal worship that people love. Just raising the bar for that worship experience.
And every week, consistently delivering every single week.
Bringing values fully into the world. You're being a presence in the larger community so that you and the congregation are known. But then in terms of barriers, and also you said really making sure that the people who come stay.
Right.
And you just mentioned barriers. Can you? And I see a lot of barriers as I'm looking at congregations and practices and having conversations. But I'd love to know, what are the kind of barriers that you noticed, and what did you do to help remove them?
So the biggest one was that there was a requirement. You could not become a member until you had taken a membership class. And the membership class was only offered twice a year. So if you came to visit the week after the membership course, you then had 6 months where we would not let you be a member. And that just seemed crazy to me.
Sorry. So, Please stand by. Please stand by. Yeah.
Exactly. And inevitably that would be, you'd come in April. And so in March, there had been a class. The next class wasn't until November. And then, we go into lay services in the summer, and we just lost all these people. I mean, they were not. So now you can become a member anytime you want to be a member. Membership book is open every single Sunday. We tell people it's open every single Sunday. We do a membership orientation a couple of times a year, but it is not required. People, as you know, come for many, many reasons. We encourage people to do that, but they don't have to. They don't have to have come a certain number of weeks. They don't have to have taken a class. And so by making it available to people, now that means that a couple of those 102 people joined their first week, and we haven't seen them since. Right. So a few people, get real excited, and then so you don't want them to join, that week, but to allow people to join when they want to. And we also make it clear that we don't hit you up for a pledge immediately. You can, you will be part of the next pledge campaign. And after you sign the book, we ask that you make a nominal contribution in your first year, but we make it very easy for people to join. I also do, instead of doing the twice a year piece standalone, once a month, I do a minister's coffee after church for newcomers and visitors. And so I stay for 45 minutes. People talk about why they had come to visit. We promote that the whole month before, so people know this is the Sunday you can come meet the minister and have your questions answered.
I love that, because one thing I've told congregations is that people are doing extensive research online before coming to a congregation. And the more we can help them know, what does the path look like? So for in your congregation, it's not, months from now someone's going to ask you about membership. It's no, you can join. It's ever present and clear. That membership is something that is immediately available, and there's a monthly opportunity to connect with you.
Right, and that they can meet me, and there's some other easy stuff that I know you talk about. So I stand outside every week. And I greet people, and I know when someone's visiting, and I make a point to talk to them as they're coming in, welcoming them. I also, one of the things that we do, that I actually didn't know how valuable it was, and thought, oh, this is a lot of time. But our membership chair asks that if you visit once and you fill out a form and you give us your email, and by the way, I cut that form down. It's now we don't ask you for a whole lot of stuff. We just ask, do you want to be, can we have your email? Can we be in touch with you? And do you have a kid in RE that we should follow up about? We then, when we reach out to those people, the next time they come, like the very next time, they have a name tag with their name on it.
Oh, immediately.
So the next week, now they're blue. The members are white, and so they know they have a guest name tag. But they walk in and they're so happy that we noticed. So Mary Johnson has a name tag on her second visit. And I think people really feel that sense of, oh, they must want me to be here.
That is so powerful in terms of it being clear this congregation is interested in me being here. Right. Because what is the practice in many of our congregations? It's
you don't get a name tag.
You have to find. Maybe you get the little temporary ones, but it's like until you get through that membership class or process, and eventually you get the official. Right. You matter. You're one of us. But to get that immediately, how affirming!
And it means that we can talk to you by name. I also work really hard. They introduce themselves to me on their first visit. I make sure by the second visit that I have a name, and so that the third visit I greet them by name at the door. And so I think that also says, we want you here. We're paying attention. I do want to pick up and just do a shout out so I don't lose it.
Please, yeah.
We've worked very hard on our website. Beth DePasquale, our office director, has done a wonderful job of making a more friendly, very up-to-date. We update our website all the time. We created a video that's on the front of our website so people get a little sense of what the church is like. And so I do think, in addition to really good worship and community presence, if people don't have a really great website, invest in the time, but you also have to invest in keeping it up to date. The website that never changes is not helping you.
Right. And one of the things that I loved about your website, and I actually spoke to that in my Facebook Live session last week a bit. I talked a little bit about the language you use on websites and how that makes people feel welcome or not. Your website does a fabulous job of this narrative telling who you are. We believe in this, and welcoming people to be part of that journey. And I think knowing that so many people find their way to a congregation through the website at some point, maybe there might be another catalyst or a person that they meet that might lead to them, or they see you out in the public, they still check out the website.
Right.
And so that helps frame what this community is like.
Right. And what you just said is also, I think, another important point, which is our members are very warm. They really, I think, they like meeting new people. They know it's part of their job on Sunday morning to meet new people. They're enthusiastically engaged in the community now. We have some 38 different committees and subcommittees, so there's a place for you. We want you involved right away. And I also feel very much that part of our success is that I have an incredibly dedicated membership chair. And so, finding somebody who has the time to do Ann Welch, our membership chair, does, which is every Monday. If you sign up on Sunday, you get a note on Monday, an email welcoming you, giving you information about what's coming up during the week, telling you about what's interesting going on in the church, inviting you to come back. And then she keeps an ongoing list. And whenever anything particularly interesting is happening at the church, she will then send that group of people who have visited an email inviting them again. And so I think people feel a sense of connection pretty quickly. And that, I think, is part of our success as well.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing a lot of things that are shortening the period that it takes people to feel like they are affirmed, valued, welcome to the community, and being invited into that, that inner circle. Or,
right.
I mean, that community. And can I just say, I love that. There are many congregations where people stand outside to greet people. Mm-hmm. It is not necessarily common for people to be greeted by name. That is so powerful. To be able to come back, you have a positive experience, you come back a second time, and your name tag is there the second time, and the third time the minister greets you by name.
Right.
That's powerful. Powerful. Right. Well, can you just shout out to all the people on your membership committee who are helping make this work? Because I know that there's a lot. I mean, just from what you're talking about, I know there's a lot going on that really empowers you to do that. Mm-hmm. As far as being outside and welcoming people.
So there are 3 greeters every week. There's a membership committee. There's Beth, and our office director. So it is indeed it is indeed a team effort and a team commitment that we want to be open and welcoming to people. And I think what's really important, and I know, Peter, you say this, which is that it's not about the numbers. Right. It's not, we're not interested in growing so we can say, oh, look, we're this much bigger. We're interested in growing because we believe in our message. We believe we're a transforming faith. And we also know, as whoever is listening to this knows, that so often people come in and their response is, I never knew there was a religion like this, right? I feel so at home. This is the kind of religion I've been seeking my whole life that I didn't know existed. So and this was true in my national work as well. I am very much an evangelical Unitarian Universalist. I believe we save lives, and I want that message out there.
I was this shy, closed, introverted kid, and it's through I grew up in our congregations, but it was through congregational life and leadership that opened me up and enabled me to really enjoy my life and just all the benefits that have come. And sometimes I keep bringing up growth and being mindful of growth, not as the numbers matter, but are our congregations healthy as living systems? Like, if we're not growing, we're dying. Sometimes we can be in equilibrium with changes, and so there's a plateau. But generally, if we're not growing, the trend is decline, and it is people's lives.
And in today's world, right, with so many places that are being infected by hate and discrimination, and I'll put that all aside, but we are a life-saving place. Right. And one of my goals was that I wanted, when things happened in the world that were of concern or tragic, like we just had this weekend, right. I wanted the Reston community to know that they could count on us to be there to address the issue in a timely basis, that if you came to church this past Sunday, we would be paying attention to what had happened in the world and helping you try to make sense, get solace, be comforted. And so I think we've done that here. And so, this past Sunday, I had 190 people at church on Sunday. And that was partially because of the Halloween carnival. Okay. Not to be,
right. To be carnival. Fun.
But it was also because, we probably had 15 to 20 visitors or people we've only seen once or twice. But there was this tragedy, and they needed a place to go, and they knew that I would be putting aside what I had planned in order to pay attention to what had just happened in the world. And I think that's, in today's world, every UU congregation, in my opinion, should be growing because of what's happening, in the administration.
Right.
People need a place.
And we are recording this on October 31st, 2018, the week following the Pittsburgh shootings, the Tree of Life. And you mentioned people counting on your congregation addressing what's happening in the world. And I know that there's lots of planning that goes into worship services and coordination far out. I have an ongoing debate with some colleagues about, how do you do what you've been planning on doing, but address enough the day's issues? Because there are times when, I see especially on Twitter, people following some really important events, just like this last week. If your congregation wasn't preaching on this or praying on this or speaking to this, you need to find another church. And
I think I tweeted that this past week.
Oh, is that you? See, that's why you're one of my favorite ministers on Twitter. And you're not the only one. I see that repeatedly. Yeah. Just like this refrain that there are these moral issues and the challenges we're facing as a people. If people can't count on the congregations in our weekly worship services to speak to the immediate hurts and hopes and wants and challenges of life today, I think there's a real challenge to. That's a barrier. That's a barrier.
Yeah. So we, for example, I have every week that I need to, at the very top of the service in my opening words, I light a candle for whatever's going on in the world. And so I do that, whether it's an earthquake or a tsunami or a shooting of a Black youth or this horrible tragedy this weekend, which required more than that. But there's always an acknowledgement, and it's always in my pastoral prayer, and that's kind of at a minimum. Right. I think there are times when we do have things planned. We have music planned. We rearranged with my music director. We arranged all of the hymns this weekend because we were starting with some very upbeat, what a wonderful world kind of hymn, and it was like, can't use that, right? And so the flexibility of my music director to work with me on changing liturgy. And it's also true right after Charlottesville. I was not prepared on the Sunday after the Saturday of Charlottesville to know what to say, except to make a lot of space for people. Right. And then I said that Sunday, I will preach on this in 2 weeks, but I need the time. And today, what we're going to do is grieve together.
Right. But at least then people know that it's coming and that you'll be there
and then
for them.
2 weeks later, I had the time to reach within myself to know what I needed to say. But I would never go into a service after some kind of tragedy or national event. And in fact, from 2 weeks from now, right, November 11th, will be the Sunday after this election. And right now, I'm just calling this service towards a more perfect union, because who knows what I'm going to need to say, right?
Yeah. So we hit on a bunch of specific practices and things your congregation does, and we do have people tuning in, and so some questions are coming in. So I just want to step back for a moment and just bring in some of those questions. One, getting back to name tags. When you said there's a new name tag,
right? A blue name tag,
and then for members they have white. And the question was, when do people get the new color name tag? That's when they join, which is
the week after they sign the book.
Right. So just like clockwork, you have a system where new people come in, you get a basic information card so that you can be in touch with them, identifies them as new to your community, and then immediately that generates a name tag for the following week. And there's also some questions like, seems a lot of focus on name tags when other things could be happening. But I think it's important because having people know who you are and that you're valued, and making it easier for people to tune into the fact that someone is new and where they are in their path to membership, I think is important, because you're doing the membership so consistently, from your monthly greetings with people to the times the people being able to join continually. When someone's new and doesn't have a member name tag, it stands out a little bit more, I would think.
Well, it's also, we're not so maybe making 10 name tags a week, right? I mean, Beth would tell you, I think that, this is a 15, 20-minute exercise. It's not a huge amount of time, and it makes a big difference to people. I've seen people come in and be like, you have my name, right? And so it makes it, I don't think it's certainly the whole of it at all. Right. But I think it's a little kind of thing that I had never thought of doing before.
But when people have that reaction, it's not, oh, nice, a name tag. It's, they care.
They care.
And you know what? I mean, just in my work, I see the amount of time we have to communicate to people that we care is getting shorter and shorter, because people are have greater social anxiety as they're using technology more. I see some, there's some people, there's an ongoing discussion that comes up whenever I guest preach somewhere. There's social workers who talk to me about some of the social anxiety and how that's impacting membership. But so, just in all the other distractions and opportunities we have, when people come in our congregations, I think we just have this brief window. So I think it's a simple thing, name tag, but it does speak volumes, I think, to the value you place on people.
Right.
What are there other? I know that you're. Another question. Are there other barriers that you've worked to eliminate that come to mind? You've touched on some, but
there were elements of the worship service that I felt worked against newcomers. So one of the things that I inherited was a service where people did the greet your neighbor right after the opening. And for new people, I watched it for a few weeks. It looked excruciating. And also for my introverts, I think it was excruciating that, there you are in the middle of the service and you're supposed to walk around and meet people. There was also asking people to stand up who were visiting, which I just hate. I mean, as a visitor, I don't want to, I'll raise my hand from my seat, but don't make me stand up, and certainly don't make me talk. I just want to come and check things out. And so we now have greet your neighbor at the very end of the service. So after the benediction, after the postlude, I say, this is your time to greet your neighbor and to greet me, and please join us for a cup of coffee and some hospitality. And so there were those kind of things that I just felt we needed to clean up. We needed to make it more comfortable for somebody who was visiting the first time.
I know that we have congregations where the members love having the visitors stand up, so they know who they are, and enjoy saying hi to people. But I think it's not necessarily about how do you as existing members feel, but how are the practices. If these are things that are supposed to make us a more welcoming congregation, I mean, a warmer congregation, it's important to know, well, it doesn't matter as much if your existing members feel that way, but how do the new people feel, the visitors feel about being singled out?
Right. Yeah. One of the things I didn't mention that we also did, and I know we would be happy to send copies if people sent us an email, we created a very professional welcome to UUCR booklet. One of my own hobby horses is that I hate the way church basement looks. Like so many of our congregations and UUCR had stuff that looked like it was coming off of the mimeograph machine from elementary school, that on bright green, ugly green paper, and you know what I'm talking about, right? It looked like Xerox. And so one of the things I wanted, and a very talented volunteer named Deb Stover worked with Beth Pasquale and I, and we wrote a really great Here We Are booklet, and it tells you everything you need, and it's beautiful, and people pick them up and they take them home and they have a chance to read more about us, and so I think that also gives another message that we want you, we want you to consider joining with us.
And it sounds like that's just ever present. Yeah, and people are interested in that booklet, so we'll definitely make sure. Okay. We can find a way to share it with me, and then I can make a link available to it. We'll figure out the logistics.
Yeah.
So as we move towards closing up this conversation, first I want to say thank you for being here with us. This is just really exciting. People are loving the bigger picture, and the caring with which you are looking at the practices within your congregation and doing little things to advance that bigger goal. For the congregations out there who are struggling with possible decline, membership growth, what would you say, just for some closing cheerleading words, in terms of the need for Unitarian Universalism, what we can accomplish?
Yeah. So what I would tell you is if we could do this in Reston, which had not grown in 16 years, there was absolutely no growth in 16 years. The fact that we've grown by 40%, you can do it too. And it's about knowing your mission, offering really great worship and services, having a great membership committee, being visible and present in your community. What we do is saving lives, and we need to get our message out there. So I hope this was helpful for folks. And if you're in the Reston area, come visit. We'd love to share what we're doing with you.
Well, great. Thank you so much. I know everyone's appreciated this conversation just from the comments and the likes. And we look forward to, hopefully continuing this conversation in the future. And again, thank you for your work and ministry in Reston and in the larger world. Rev Debra, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Peter. I'll look forward to continuing talking and learning from you. We have we've got lots to learn also.
Right. Yeah. And more conversations like this to come. So to everyone, a happy Halloween. And if you know people who would appreciate this conversation, please share this recording with them. It will be available in a variety of forms from on my website at uuplanet.org, and fairly soon a podcast. So thank you. And as always, we're glad to have all of you here. And thanks again, Rev Debra.